Hi, it's the end of November, so it's time to finish up the books that I've read. I've read another 7 since my last video. Sort of halfway through the month, I've read another 7, and I've had a pretty good time as usual. I can't think of a book this year so far that has really let me down. First one I read, sorry, I didn't read it, I listened to it on Audible, and it was Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon, and this was such fun. We are in Syracuse in 421 BC, where the Athenians are imprisoned in a quarry. After the war, the Athenian prisoners, rather than build prisons for them, they just chain them up in the quarry to sort of slowly rot away as you do. We've got 2 potters, Galen and Lampo, and they're out of work. And every day they go along to the quarry and they take a bit of food. And then Galen decides that these are Athenians in here, Greek theatre. And he is a huge fan of Euripides. So he decides that, maybe they should put on a performance of Medea using the Athenians, because there are bound to be some actors there in amongst all the prisoners. And he'll also tag on to Medea the Trojan Women, which is Euripides' newest play. Lampo is a brilliant character, and listening to the author Ferdia Lennon narrate, the character of Lampo just springs out. You can see him every time you hear his voice. You can see him. He's such a wonderful character. He's likable. He's impulsive. Galen is brooding and sad, and you learn why. You have the auditions when they audition in the Athenian prisoners. You have the rehearsals. You've got meetings with a merchant who has a taste for the macabre. All of these events are throughout the story as they are putting on this play. The other characters, you've got Patres, the Athenian that Lampo almost befriends. You've got Lyra, a slave girl. You've got a full cast of characters. It's super, and the Irish voice just works. It really does work. So that was my first one I want to talk about. Then I moved on to The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner, which I picked up in a charity shop because I was drawn to the cover. And this one, we've got 3 points of view and 2 timelines. We're in 1791 London, where Nella is a dispenser of poisons in her little hidden shop. Women can go to her to get poison to get rid of the evil men in their life. Her one rule is that she will not sell her poison to harm another woman. In modern day London, we've got Caroline, who has come to London, an American who's come to London alone. She was supposed to be travelling to London with her husband to celebrate their 10th wedding anniversary, but she just found out he's unfaithful, so she's come along on her own. And she finds a little vial when she goes on a mudlarking tour. And she takes it along to the British Library to find out more about it, because it's got a little bear etched on it. And then they just try and find out the history, or she wants to find out the history of this. And the third point of view is 12-year-old Eliza Fanning, who goes along to Nella to buy some poison on behalf of her mistress, and the relationship that builds up between Eliza and Nella. Nella's life was tragic, but she was my favourite character by far. Then I read The Haunting of Moscow House by Olesya Salnikova-Gilmore. This is set in 1921, after the fall of Imperial Russia. As a child growing up, I was fascinated by the story of Tsar Nicholas and Alexander, that whole period. And this is set afterwards. And you've got Irina and Lily, who are living with two cousins and their grandparents and an aunt in the attic of their house, Moscow House. The Bolsheviks have taken over the house, and the family can stay in the house, but they are now in the attic. They were aristocratic, and these former aristocrats are now suffering. They are now, the men have either been imprisoned or killed, and the women are having to fend for themselves. They're having to sell jewellery, try to scrounge food. It's a hard life for them. And the American Relief Agency hires the two sisters because they want translators to help them. The house itself, Moscow House, is haunted. So you get this gothic horror element in there. And it's the ghosts of the family who are getting stronger. The ghosts are getting stronger. They're gaining more substance. And their aunt is acting very, very strangely. So you've got gothic horror, you've got threats, you've got ghosts, you've got a bit of romance. I found it a very slow start, but the horror builds up as you go along. So if you're into your gothic horror, well, that's one. Then I listened to Richard Osman's new one, his new series, We Solve Murders. I've loved the Thursday Murder Clubs of this nice little sort of cosy crime, and this one we've got Steve Wheeler, who's an ex-London cop, ex-London policeman, who's widowed. He's living in the New Forest, and every day he wanders over to a bench and he talks to his late wife Debbie. He tells her what's going on in his life. He does a little bit of investigating, finding lost dogs and things like that. And he attends the weekly pub quiz, and he's got a cat called Trouble that he takes care of, So that's his life. His daughter-in-law, Amy, she's a bodyguard for influential people. She works for Maximum Impact Solutions. And her present job, she's guarding a very famous author, Rosie D'Antonio, who has annoyed a Russian oligarch when she described him a little bit too accurately in her latest novel. And he's now trying to kill her. You've also got Françoise Loubet, who is threatening Amy's boss, and is also threatening Amy, also trying to kill Amy. And when she finds that she is in danger, she takes Steve out of his comfort zone to come and help her. To come and help her to solve the murders. Because we have got murders through the way, because clients of Maximum Impact Solutions have died. And each death has been within a sort of an hour's. Amy has been sort of in the vicinity, so it looks as though someone's trying to frame her for these murders. So there's puzzles, there's twists, there's perils. It's a good read, and I think this is going to be a good series as well. So I'll wait for the next one to come out. Then another one of my charity shop books, 3 Things About Elsie. I've read Joanna Cannon before, and so I thought I'd pick this one up. We've got Florence, who's in her 80s, in Cherry Tree, living in Cherry Tree, sort of like a home, with Elsie, her lifelong friend. She has gaps in her memory, and when a new resident arrives, Gabriel Price, she realizes, she's convinced that he is actually not Gabriel Price, he's Ronnie Butler. But he can't be, because Ronnie Butler died in the 1950s. He is her secret. And Elsie's, she shares the secret of Ronnie Butler with Elsie. So together with Jack, who's another resident, the three of them set out to solve the mystery. And they'd go off on a trip to Whitby. But Elsie keeps having these memory gaps because things keep moving in her flat. She'll find that an ornament's missing, and the front cover, Battenberg cake. You don't realise that Battenberg cakes can be dangerous, but they are in Elsie's house. And you've got other characters. You've got the handyman Simon, you've got Miss Ambrose, and Miss Bizzle, who are in charge of the care home. And it's a story about how little acts of kindness can go a long way. And it is a nice read. You sort of twig what's going on towards the end, but it is a nice read. And then what did I read? Then I read an ARC that comes out on the 7th of January next year. The Three Lives of Kate Kay by Kate Fagan is a debut novel, and it's a fictional memoir of Kate Kay, who is the most famous author on the planet, but she's anonymous. Nobody knows who she is. Anne-Marie Callaghan is the name nobody knows, and no one is able to connect the dots between her and this author. And Cass Ford is the name that Kate Kay goes by. The memoir takes us from Annie's childhood, Anne-Marie's childhood, and we find out why she ran away and her choices. We follow her in her sapphic romances, but the whole time she never forgets what happened to her when she was a teen and why she ran away. We've got multiple points of view. People keep adding to this memoir, and you've got little footnotes that Kate Kay writes in to comment on what these points of view have said, and lots of little Easter eggs. I didn't like her in the beginning. I didn't like the character in the beginning. I thought she was totally selfish in what she was doing, but by the end I did. And then the final one I read was this one, By Way of Paris by Christopher J. Newman, an ARC, an advanced copy that I was sent by the publisher that comes out on the 1st of December. And this is a wild ride, full of gangs, which is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I had a good time with it. There's violence in here, there's aggression in here, but there's also humour. You've got an American Luke who is in London on a writing programme, and he gets by way of Paris, where something happened to him. And in London, he goes to this pub and meets Shane, who is a cousin of someone he met in Paris. And he thinks in this pub he can do all his writing. The book. It's a notebook. So he can write all his stories. And he gets drawn into this gang led by Shane, where the other gang members are kids. They're younger than Luke. And you have all these exploits. I'm trying not to give any spoilers away. It is a wild ride. You have some super characters in here. You have little mini cliffhangers. And yeah, not a bad read at all. So, my book of the first half of the month was Tom Lake. But that's been knocked off its perch. So, sorry, Anne Patchett. My book of November is definitely Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon, because that was absolutely such a fun read. So November is finished. We're now in December, the last month of the year. So let's see what we get up to. So happy reading. Take care.